All right. Yeah. Thank you, Barry. And I do want to introduce a couple of people that are going to be part of this chat. And it's Don Jeppson and from the city of San Rafael and Bret Wickham. And let me just do a quick little intro for the two of them, and then we'll get started with a question, with an intro for them. Don Jeppson is a licensed architect and certified building official. He's a graduate from the University of Iowa with a Bachelor of Architecture and has taught classes at the University of Nevada, Reno. Don has worked for governments, architectural firms, and design build construction companies. He has worked for Kuwait Institute of Scientific Research in Kuwait on their master city plan. Don retired from Washoe County in 2017 after 20 years of service, 9 years as county architect and 11 years as department director and county building official. The last 3 years he's worked as chief building official for the city of San Rafael. He's interested in historical preservation, energy conservation, accessibility, and automated systems to assist in the permitting process. And then Bret Wickham, who we'll be chatting with. Bret Wickham is a principal structural engineer with Contra Costa County Department of Conservation and Development, a colleague of mine with a degree in structural engineering from University of California, San Diego. Following an initial 8 years in private sector, he's moved to local government at the county, and he is familiar with many aspects of its operation, including engineering and architectural plan review, as well as permitting, legal issues, and land use planning. Since 2019, Bret has also served as a chairperson to the ICC Tri-Chapter Uniform Code Committee and has been heavily involved this past year in the process of moving the county's building division permitting process online. And with that, I'd like to get started with them and see if they could share their screen. There they are. Hi, Bret, and hi, Don. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate you guys having here. I first want to start with an intro for you, Don, give you a few minutes to introduce yourself beyond what I've provided there and share your experience with what your building department has done to continue to provide services to its customers when COVID-19 began. What have you guys been doing for that?
Great, thank you. We have, before I got here at San Rafael, my predecessor was dabbling in providing more services online. And we had the typical hot water heater and furnaces that you could get online. And then we had kind of a circus that occurred on Tuesday and Thursday morning where we would do over-the-counter plan reviews. So we would get a lot of the solar EV chargers, remodels for kitchen and bathrooms that would come in. And we would do about 40 plan checks in less than 6 hours on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. So we've been thinking about it and we've been anxious about it and we've been looking at software to go online. And then Corona hit, and almost overnight we took our existing systems and with little costs made them go online and became 100% electronic almost overnight. We ended up using low-cost solutions, like we're using Adobe Acrobat Pro to do our electronic plan checks. We developed a bunch of stamps, some of them dynamic, that can take information and apply it to the drawings. And we are also have our system tied in that our third-party plan consultants, some of them can log in and do plan checks remotely, so they don't have to come down here. Let me give a little background on San Rafael. San Rafael, we're about 60,000 people. The building department does about a little less than 5,000 permits annually. We do about 12,000 inspections. We cover 22 square miles, 16 of it is of land. We service about 24,000 residential units. About half of those are single family dwellings. Before Corona, I had a staff of 8. Right after Corona started, due to the age 65 and some people decided to retire immediately, we were down to a staff of 4, and those 4 vacancies were frozen throughout. Actually, those 4 positions are frozen until July. So we were doing twice the work with half the staff. and we take in about $45 million in revenue.
Wow.
So overnight, we went to electronic. And over time, probably within the first 6 months, we started developing other ways of interacting with the community. So we've developed a virtual counter. So if you go onto our website, we have 4 times a week, 2 mornings and 2 afternoons. It's actually, let's see, we have Monday and Wednesday mornings and Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons that you can drop in. So you can go to our website, click a link, it will bring you into a Teams environment, and you'll see somebody one-on-one like this. We also have 4 hours a week where you can schedule 15 minutes and you can meet with multiple departments in the same environment. So we have public works, fire, planning, building. And if you need more than 15 minutes to get your answers, you can go online and schedule a longer meeting. And we also, you can go online and schedule in-person meetings if that's necessary. But we have a lot of virtual functions. And then we opened up the front counter for 2 mornings a week. But I still have staff working remotely. So what we did with that is we set up a couple computers on the front counter that has mics and cameras. And when people come in, they're greeted by a person on the computer from home, and they can transact their business. They can obtain a building permit. They can get questions answered. If they need certain forms printed out for them, we have a printer right there on the front counter that they can print from home. And so it's kind of like a virtual or a half virtual counter. And so those are kind of the main things we've done to keep in contact with our citizens. Again, all these have been at very extremely low costs to the city, and we haven't had the need to go to new software. We're hoping to in the near future because it gives us additional functionality.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive, Don, to do all that. I can only imagine, like, I know that's really challenging for any jurisdiction. So I, you know, it's impressive. And I know that Bret here from Contra Costa has had a similar experience in terms of how they're doing it and how they did the same thing. And maybe Bret, if you have a few minutes to explain how they've done it in Contra Costa, similar to Don, I think that it would be really helpful.
Thank you, Damien. So my background's as an engineer. I'm curious. I get involved in all sorts of other things that probably shouldn't be, but I haven't learned to keep my mouth shut, so I'm involved. Yeah, your experience sounds smoother than ours, Don. We had talked about going electronic, but we hadn't actually done any of it. Well, that's not completely true. We were doing some solar. But yours sounds smoother. Ours was a rocky start. We're a larger jurisdiction. I would say we serve about 4 times as many citizens with commensurate larger staff. It's also suburban. We have more industrial than you probably do. So we have a segment that's industrial. We have some that's larger commercial, and then a lot of residential. And just like your area, in a sense, we benefited. Business was very, very busy for the last year. People were moving back to the suburbs, buying homes that they could remodel, that they could build ADUs into, and investing their finances in residential construction. There was a lot of that going on. Tell you a little bit about early challenges for us. Being a larger jurisdiction, we have some unique challenges different than in a city. Agency coordination has been a big issue. I'll talk a moment about agency coordination, talk a little bit about our struggles with moving to applying online, and a little bit about, we've been very incremental in our change. It hasn't been painless or quick, but it's been change. lots and lots of change. And in the whole, after a rough start, it's been good. We deal with 5 contract cities within our jurisdiction area. We have, I believe, 7 different sanitary districts that we deal with, 8 different fire districts, 2 different reclamation districts out in the Delta. We've got our own public works, environmental health. So all of those folks have approval processes that we have to interface with. We happen to run a CELA. Most of them don't. That was one of the things that kept us from being an early adopter of going electronic until we didn't have any choice. Our customers are still grappling with that. That's not an easy issue. Some folks, it's just a matter of getting an electronic stamp, and then that's a PDF and it gets, you know, filed in with the rest of the drawings. Some folks are still on paper. And then it's the applicant who has to upload that, and we add it in. That's taken more time. Sometimes that was often an over-the-counter process, and those aren't agencies we have any control over. So just there's benefits, there's challenges.
Yeah. So
ahead.
Bret, I'm curious, considering, you know, how much you had to do, and also Don, like, what, for both of you, what was the most challenging aspect of kind of going from very little online permitting to like 100% online permitting? It sounds like that's what you're all doing. Is that a true statement? Or, and I'll start with you, Don.
So it was pretty, so we have glitchy systems. We're dealing with a 20-year-old permit system that by the end of this year will not be supported by this vendor any longer. We're dealing with glitchy phone systems where it's really hard to answer phone messages remotely. And that's like a 20-year-old phone system too. We have tried to supplement these by issuing computers and multiple screens and cell phones to people that are at home. But it could be a lot better if we had a little better technology in place, a lot more seamless. We do have a problem with reviewing agencies. Right now, we're issuing a separate set of drawings from the health district, and we're telling the contractor that they need to have both sets on the job site, and whatever is more restrictive, they will need to comply with. We had a small instance where they were going off completely off the health set, and they totally missed that they were supposed to put in fire sprinklers.
What about you, Bret? What about most challenging aspect of kind of going from almost 0 to 100% online permitting, right?
Yeah. Share one thing that's been very helpful for us. We're larger, we have more staff. We have some excellent IT staff, and no, you can't poach them. They have been invaluable. One of the things we've rolled out has been phones over our laptops. That has made being in communication easier. Teams has been great for us internally, but for external communication, we're running Cisco, and that was an easy add. So I would give that a shout out. One of the earliest, most difficult things for us was taking a paper permit application process and making it work as a web document. We went from the paper application process. If you look at the legal language and its legal stuff, it comes from the State Board of the Contractor State License Board. There's signatures in 4 locations. There's legal identification processes, and all of that worked fine in person. We didn't have any guidance for how to turn that into an effective online process. Our the first go was we took the paper document, which says legally in substantially the same form as blah, 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 and we made it a PDF document. We probably had a 5% success rate with that. It was a nightmare. It was an email nightmare. And after about 6 or 8 weeks of just beating our heads against it, and our poor staff who were frazzled, we said, this is not working. So we went to affidavits. We reformatted the whole thing. in a cognito form. Again, shout out to the tech folks. That's not my world. The cognito form reads just like a regular web-based document. You can't pass go until you fill in all the starred fields. And that headache went away overnight. So that saved us enormous time and frustration for our clients and for ourselves.
Very cool. Very cool. And now, kind of the question I get at, I'm very interested in is, what about your online permitting process? Do you think is, do you think it's been, what's been most beneficial to your customers, and this goes, and I'll start with Bret and then I'll go to Don. Has it been beneficial to your customer? Do you feel like efficiencies have, gotten, is your team are your teams more efficient getting things done, or is it about the same because you've gone online? What do what are some of the benefits to customers?
Yeah, it's both sides of the coin. It's literally 24/7. We have folks applying for permit, 7 days a week. They're applying in Los Angeles. They're applying at 2 a.m. And that's not going to go away. So enormous.
Is that the same for you, Don? They can apply at any time, or?
Yeah, so they can apply 24/7. I think a lot of our solar contractors that were paying a toll bridge to come over from Richmond and Oakland on our Tuesday and Thursday morning plan reviews, they're never going to come back. They absolutely love that they can apply anytime. We're turning the plans around about as quickly, because if they had to wait until Tuesday or Thursday, they can probably apply over the weekend, and probably by Tuesday or Wednesday we'll have the permit issued. The same with EV chargers. I have a couple local architects who used to come down here, love the staff, but they told us they won't be back. They really like being able to submit anytime they want to online.
Now it looks like we've got some questions in the chat, and it looks like I've got one here. How do jurisdictions deal with non-permitted equipment replacement, especially over weekends or emergency situations? It looks like they.
So the building code allows that you can, an emergency type of situation, like you have a hot water heater go out on Friday afternoon or Friday evening, that you can replace it and obtain a building permit the next business day. So if Monday's a holiday, you can come in Tuesday and secure a building permit, and then we'll do the inspections and everything at that point. We don't necessarily see it as a violation if it's emergency.
And then another question is, what is the compliance level for the city of San Rafael? And I don't know what maybe it's, just general building permit compliance. Certainly there's energy code compliance, but.
I'm not sure what the question is. I'm not sure how much unpermitted work occurs in the city. We think it's probably, well, the reality is on hot water heaters, furnaces, re-roofs, things of those things, it's probably a high level of people are doing the work without permits. If we have 12,000 residents and a hot water heater lasts 12 years or 20 years, we should be seeing, like, I can't do the math in my head at the moment, but we should be seeing a high percentage of like 1,000 permits a year on hot water heaters and furnace change out, and we're not seeing that. On the flip side, we're also not seeing a lot of injuries or damage from those being installed. So sometimes for me, it begs the question, should we be regulating those or not, especially if they're changing things out like for like. And that's a whole nother conversation. But I know the county, Marin County has indicated that about 75% of the work that occurs in the county is unpermitted. We think San Rafael is the opposite. We think we're getting about 75% of the work is permitted and about 25% is unpermitted. But to fairness to Marin, and I think they would say this, that's why I feel comfortable repeating it, they're a big rural county. And so there's probably a lot of work that goes off the radar.
Okay. We've only got a couple more minutes. So there's one big question I do want to get to. that I think is on people's minds. And for both of you, does your jurisdiction plan to continue to offer the same level of service of online permitting in the future? Post-COVID, whatever post-COVID means, we don't know what that means, but you know, is it going to be full online still for all permits, or are you going to do some hybrid version? Do you guys have any sense of what your thoughts are on that? And Don, we can start with you.
Sure. So my biggest problem right now is with, and it's not a huge problem, we're a team here at San Rafael, but one of the resistance we have from upper management is the feeling that we need to be open like we were before, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. We just don't have that demand, and I don't see that demand coming back anytime soon. Even though we're open maybe 4 hours in the morning, 2 days a week, we're seeing about one person per hour. I think we're getting a lot more traffic with our virtual counter and our virtual services. So I'd like to try relay to management and elected officials that we are really looking at a sea change. We're still going to offer some limited hours on the counter and in person for sure, and those will come back and probably be more in a year or so. But right now, it just isn't there.
Bret, what about you? And we only got a minute or so.
We are rolling out, so we've rolled out phone appointments, we've rolled out video appointments, we are rolling out in-person appointments next week. Phone appointments are coming a little. Video appointments are very slow in the rollout, at least. Interesting to hear that you don't have people banging the door down.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. My own shopping, we knew retailers, but the convenience of getting it to show up at our doorstep in a day or two is hard to beat. And I think this is going to, in large part, go the same way. If we can get, as consumers, if we can get what we need in a painless way and it's quick, that's how most consumers are going to do it. It's up to us to make the tools available to make them successful doing it.
Great. All right. Well, thank you both, Bret and Don, for being here today and just talking through your experience. It's been super helpful. One last question from people are, are you open for people to contact you directly with questions about this issue? Both of you.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I'll leave it at that, and we'll move on to the next part of our agenda, and I'll pass it on to Barry Hooper. And thank you both for your time.
Thank you.